Great. Thanks, Paul. Actually, we're going to continue here, and now we're going to talk a little bit about waste and water. And I think this is a particularly fascinating area because it's really clear that money is being thrown in the trash, literally. So here's one example that I picked up, and I guess we're picked up San Francisco because that's where we happen to be today. Taking a look at two cities of similar size that have very different recycling practices and what the impacts really are for them on a cash basis. So Boston has a recycling rate of 16%, where San Francisco recycles about 70%. The tonnage collected, you can see there, 43,000 versus almost 400,000. There are real financial impacts to this. The sale of recyclables led to revenues of almost $22 million for San Francisco, whereas Boston only realized about $700,000. The other financial impact here is if you aren't recycling it, you're sending it to the landfill. And when you send it to the landfill, you also pay per ton to send it to the landfill. So landfill cost avoidance for San Francisco by recycling and selling the recyclables instead of putting it into the ground was another $51 million. So you can see here these are very significant numbers when we're talking about trash to cash, and we mean that quite literally. So another important lesson here is that recycled waste is actually an important input, not just an output of the supply chain. It's a commodity like oil with a fluctuating market, so it's had its ups and downs. But there are definitely opportunities here for municipalities to increase their revenue, reduce their landfill cost. If you happen to be in the waste management industry, you can certainly increase your revenue. Consumers are finding ways to cash in on this as well. It's not like the old system where you'd have to bring your bottle down to the recycling plant and get your 5 cents. There's actually more efficient ways of doing that these days. And investors are seeing this as a great opportunity for investing in new green businesses. Industry is benefiting from reduced raw materials costs by using the recycled materials instead of virgin materials, and reduced energy costs related to processing those. There's one group that really was kind of innovative in how they approach this. Recycle Bank is really making a business out of trash. They decided that their goal was to try to help municipalities increase their recycling rate. And they are creating benefits not only for themselves but for the cities, and the benefits that I just mentioned. The way that consumers benefit is basically everyone gets a chip on their trash can, and so they can collect information about how much waste you're truly recycling, and then you get points awarded to your account, and you can use those points to shop with their online merchants. So there's really a great benefit here, both for them, the municipality, the consumer, and the businesses with whom they partner, where you can spend your points. Now here's an example that also I didn't find intuitive when I first learned about it, and this is Coca-Cola. They were ranked 36 on the Newsweek Green Rankings, and I thought, well, how can that be? I mean, talk about a company that puts plastic bottles out into the world. They report that they are the largest consumer of aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and refillable glass bottles in the non-alcoholic beverage industry, and they really are trying to do something about that. It's an amazing number of bottles that are going into the environment, and they really have a goal of recovering that packaging, recycling it, and making it a valuable resource for the future. They also have concerns about water. It's a risk factor for their manufacturing. They use almost 2.5 liters of water to create 1 liter of output, and they recognize with the fact that they have operations around the globe that it's going to be important that clean water is continually available to be able to produce their product. They have a goal of safely returning to nature an amount of water equivalent to what is used. So that is quite a great goal. I hope they achieve. And they wanted to do this through really efficiency in reducing the water used in the manufacturing process, as well as replenishing water in the community by partnering with groups like World Wildlife Fund on community water projects. They currently use 300 billion liters of water every year.
And similarly, Pepsi is undertaking initiatives not only in water, but also on the food side. They're the owner of Sun Chips. Pepsi also has other business units like Tropicana Orange Juice and Naked Juice. Just as a triple bottom line metric that we were talking about before, Pepsi segments its revenue into 3 categories: good for you, better for you, and fun for you. So some of the things like Quaker Oats and Tropicana Orange Juice fall in that first category, which is 30% of their revenue. 20% of their revenue is better for you, so something that might get one of its smart spots. which is a nutritional label that they've created. And then 50% of Pepsi's revenues is still fun for you, which would be things like Doritos. So, but companies are starting to segment their revenue in this way, and that's a really powerful way that sends a signal both to the customer as well as the investor. Kent also wrote in that recycled waste could be thought of as a co-product in the production model or bill of materials, and find other ways to monetize it.
Great. Well, thanks. And just a couple more comments about Coke before we leave this topic. You can see here that the numbers around using recycled inputs are pretty compelling, that it's 95% less energy cost to use a recycled aluminum can than virgin aluminum. And the value of wasted aluminum in this plastic is, in the U.S. alone, is $1.5 billion per year. So that's a lot of cash in the trash here. The other thing is that they need to manage risk. The water risk, I think I just talked about. Not only are they literally putting water into the syrup and into the beverages, but it's also water is used to grow the sugar and create the corn syrup as well. The other thing that Coca-Cola is doing is they're kind of expanding their product offering, and they're innovating. They're taking their old plastic bottles and recycling them. I know other companies have done this before, but now they've come out with a line of apparel called Drink to Wear apparel. They've taken 5 million bottles out of the chain